If you've just started learning Power BI, Power Query is going to be one of the most important things for you to learn. This is where all the data transformation will happen, and this is where you can make the data so easy for you to work with that it will not take much time for you to produce data visualization. My goal for this video is to show you all the different functionality within Power Query, how it's grouped together, and how you can easily find it later on. So by the end of this video, you should be able to find the data transformation steps that you need yourself. My name is Eugene, I'm a professional Power BI consultant, and let's jump straight over to my computer so I can show it to you. Okay, so first we need to navigate to Power Query, and you can do that in multiple ways within Power BI. If you just open your Power BI file, you can either click Get Data, or you can click Transform Data if your data is loaded to Power BI already. What we are going to do, we're going to click Get Data, and now Power BI will give us the whole list of data sources that it can work with. We're going to be using the text CSV connector, and we will be using this dataset Netflix titles. The link to it is in the description. It's the Kaggle dataset, so it's public and it's free for you to download. By the way, I've built a dashboard using this dataset, so if you want to build a dashboard with me using the same dataset, I'll link it in this video. Okay, so we are going to click Netflix title and load it to our Power BI file. And this is going to give us the window which gives us a preview of our data. Instead of loading it, we're going to transform data, and this will take us to Power Query. So this is where all the work will happen for us for this tutorial. I'm going to open it to full screen. And what you need to understand here, first of all, is all the different menus that you've got and all the different sections of the screen. There is a section on the left that is showing you all the queries that you have, so all the tables you've loaded. The section in the middle gives you a preview of your data, so you can scroll horizontally or vertically, and you can just, get a feel of what your data looks like. The section on the right highlights the different steps that you've applied in Power Query. You can click through those steps to go back so that the source is your original step. You can also see what happened to your data as you transformed it by clicking through those steps. And then you've got the top section, which we call ribbon. So the home ribbon, transform ribbon, and etc. The section at the top essentially groups data transformation functionality together. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the View section, and here we can control essentially what we see inside Power Query. So I can control whether I want to see a formula bar. So this shows me the text, the actual formulas. The formulas inside of Power Query are done in a programming language called M, just one letter. Very rarely you have to use this language. I barely use it in my work, but it's useful to know that it exists. So you can also see column quality, where it shows you whether you've got any blanks or errors in your data. So you can see column distribution. So, for example, you can see movies versus TV shows here. Column profile. So sort of like column distribution, but just a more detailed view, and things like that. I'm just going to leave the formula bar. We don't need many other things for this tutorial. And now I'm going to go back to the home ribbon and I'm going to start explaining the functionality for you. So in the home ribbon, the section on the left here essentially is to control what tables you've got in your file. So this is less of a priority for you to learn. We're going to start by discussing the section on the right. So the first thing that you can do, you can select columns to load to your Power BI files. Essentially, this would allow you to delete the columns you don't need. So, for example, if you decide that you don't need cast or description or rating, you can unselect those, click OK, and those columns are no longer in our data set. You can see that a new step was added. This is the step that deletes our columns. We can delete this step so that we can just go back. The alternative to that is selecting which columns to remove. So as you see, I've just selected the director column and I've basically removed the column. So you can select multiple columns by holding Control. If you hold Control and click on Cast, so now multiple columns are selected and I'm going to click Remove. The next thing that you can do is whether keep rows or remove rows. So for example, you can remove duplicates, errors, or you can decide to keep duplicates, depending on your use case. This is not going to be that useful for this data set, but something that is going to be useful is knowing how to filter. And we've got this down arrow for our column, so we can click that and select blank, for example, and click OK. So there we go. Now you can see that this this filter is applied because we can see the filter icon on the column. So we can remove this filter by clicking Clear Filter, and we can just go back. So you can also sort the columns. So you can sort them alphabetically in ascending order or maybe descending order. So there you go. And actually, as you sort this data set, you can see that there are some data problems in our data set. So these two rows at the top are not showing the expected format of data, so for example, the country is in the actor or in the director column, and then the date is in the cast column. So this is a mistake. Essentially what we need to do is we need to remove the first two rows, and I'm going to click here for remove rows, remove top rows. Here I can say that I want to remove two rows and click OK. So now the noise in our data is no longer there. We've removed it. The next function I'm going to show you is split columns, which is here. You can split a column based on all the different kinds of conditions, whether it's a delimiter, number of characters, or positions. Those three are the most common ones that you'd need to use. And essentially, I'm going to demonstrate how it works on the duration column. So we're going to split duration, so select the column first, click here and split it by delimiter, and now our delimiter is going to be a specific symbol, so it can be either a comma or a space or something else. And here we can select whether you know, like the leftmost delimiter matters, or if, for example, we have multiple space symbols within our column, you know, we'll also be able to split the column like that. So I'm gonna demonstrate how it works. So here we'll just click OK. And now you see we've got two columns for duration, the number column and the text column. We've got our duration here in the leftmost column, and the column to the right essentially is given the number of minutes for the films, or is given the number of seasons for TV series. So I'm going to rename this column. I'm going to double click on the title and say, you know, length, and click OK. And then the column to the right, I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to say minutes versus seasons. So this is now a little bit more descriptive, in my opinion. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to assign data types in Power Query. So you can assign it here, and you can also select multiple columns and assign data type to multiple columns at once. So all the different data types are listed here, whether it's a decimal number, a whole number, a date, date time, text, or etc. So let's say, for example, we want to change release year from whole number to text. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but occasionally you might. And just to demonstrate the point, we're going to select text, and now you can see that what was number before became text, because the data icon has changed. Essentially, the data icon is what tells you what number type you've got. So those 1 to 3 icons are there for numbers. The ABC icons represent text. We also got this calendar icon representing the date. And yeah, so those are going to be the most frequently seen icons within Power BI. The next thing that you need to know is how to replace values. So if you select the minutes versus seasons column, and then you go to replace values here, this will tell us which value we want to find and how we want to replace it. So in this column, we've got minutes starting with small letter, but we've got seasons starting with the capital letter. I want to make it a bit more consistent, so I'm going to say the value I want to find is small letter m, and I want to replace it with the big letter N. So now it's replaced, as you can see. The merge, append, and all the other functionalities are a little bit more tricky, so they will require a bit more time for me to explain, and I'm going to make a separate video tutorial on those. I will also release another tutorial on the transform ribbon within Power Query, so stay subscribed in order to not miss it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a like button and just subscribe. So I'm going to release the next part in Power Query within about a week.